What does it really cost to live the so-called American dream? A new report has put a shocking price tag on it, nearly $5 million. Yes, $5 million, and for millions of middle-class Americans, that dream may feel further away than ever before. So what exactly is the American dream these days? For decades, it's meant a stable home, 2 kids, a college education, a decent car, family vacations, health care, and eventually a comfortable retirement. Nothing extravagant, just a good, secure middle-class life. But when you start adding up the costs of each of those pieces in 2025, the total is jaw-dropping. Let's break it down. First, housing. Owning a home has always been central to the American dream, but with mortgage rates hitting multi-decade highs and housing prices soaring, the cost of a modest home in many U.S. cities has skyrocketed. The report estimates a typical middle-class home over a lifetime can cost $1.5 million or more, especially when you add property taxes, maintenance, and interest. For younger families, saving for a down payment alone feels almost impossible. Next, raising children. The U.S. Department of Agriculture once estimated it costs about $250,000 to raise one child from birth to age 18. But in today's world, with childcare, healthcare, school supplies, and rising food costs, that number is now much higher. And if you plan to help them through college, brace yourself. 2 kids with a 4-year university education could push lifetime spending toward $1 million or more. That's a huge chunk of the American dream right there. Now let's talk about healthcare. For the average middle-class family, premiums, co-pays, and out-of-pocket expenses add up to staggering amounts over a lifetime. According to the report, healthcare alone can cost over $1.2 million by the time you reach retirement. And that's not counting unexpected emergencies or long-term care for aging parents. For many, even with insurance, a single medical crisis can wipe out savings. Then comes retirement. Financial experts say you need at least $1 million to retire comfortably. And in reality, for most families, that number is probably closer to $2 million, especially with inflation eating away at savings. Yet the truth is, the majority of Americans have far less saved. In fact, surveys show that almost half of middle-class workers have less than $10,000 in retirement savings. $10,000 against a $2 million target. It's not even close. And of course, don't forget the extras that were once part of the dream: vacations, reliable cars, maybe even paying off some student debt. All of this together is how experts arrive at the staggering $5 million price tag for a traditional middle-class American life. Now here's the big question. Why is the cost so high? A big part of the answer is inflation, not just the short-term spike we saw in 2021 and 2022, but decades of slow and steady increases. Wages haven't kept up. For many workers, paychecks today buy less than they did 20 or 30 years ago. Meanwhile, the essentials of life, housing, education, healthcare, have risen much faster than average income. Consider this. In the 1970s, a single income could often cover a home, kids, and retirement savings. Today, even 2 incomes often aren't enough. The result? Middle-class families feel squeezed from every direction. They work harder, save less, and often rely on credit cards or debt just to cover monthly bills. So how are Americans responding? Some are delaying big milestones, waiting longer to buy a home, or having fewer children. Others are giving up on certain parts of the dream entirely. Surveys show many young adults no longer believe they'll ever retire in comfort. They're simply hoping to get by. And many middle-aged families feel stuck, living paycheck to paycheck, despite doing everything right. But here's another question. Where does this leave the American dream itself? If the goalposts have moved so far that only the wealthy can afford the full package, is it still the same dream? Some experts argue it's evolving. Maybe the dream isn't about a house with a white picket fence anymore. Maybe it's about flexibility, experiences, or simply financial stability without constant stress. Still, for millions, the idea of a $5 million price tag is discouraging. It creates a sense that no matter how hard they work, they'll never catch up. And that frustration is fueling political debates, economic policies, and cultural shifts. Should the government step in with more support for housing, childcare, or education? Or is it up to individuals to redefine what a successful life looks like? Now, let's bring this back to you. Imagine you're a middle-class worker earning around the national median, about $75,000 a year for a household. After taxes, housing, food, transportation, and healthcare, how much is left? Saving enough to reach a $5 million lifetime target feels almost impossible.